Tammy Slaton had been waiting for this day for years. After reducing over 500 pounds, a milestone that most would consider unimaginable, she finally received the green light for her long-awaited skin removal surgery. Sitting in the bright, sterile office of bariatric surgeon Dr. Eric Smith, the weight of the past decades felt both literal and metaphorical. The walls, the equipment, even the lights seemed to hum with anticipation as Dr. Smith delivered news that would change Tammy's life. "I'm giving you the all-clear to return to Pittsburgh and schedule your skin removal because you've demonstrated to me that you can concentrate on your diet," he said with a calm authority. Tammy's 38-year-old face broke into a smile, so wide it seemed to illuminate the room. "Thank you," she said, her voice quivering with relief and excitement. Dr. Smith continued, explaining that he had consulted with Dr. Peter Rubin, a respected colleague in the field. "He's comfortable proceeding with your surgery, so let's get it done," Dr. Smith said. The question that followed, "How does that make you feel?" was met with a simple, yet profound response from Tammy. Relieved. For years, she had fought not just for health, but for a life that could be lived fully, freely, without the chains of excess weight. In an interview with the cameras, Dr. Smith shared his perspective on Tammy's journey. "I'm super excited for her. This is something she's wanted for a really long time. It's not the end of her journey by any means, but it's that final thing, a reward for all her hard work. It's a battle scar that she can now remove." The excitement wasn't confined to the office. Fans erupted on social media, praising Tammy's determination. Comments ranged from emotional declarations of pride to astonishment at her accomplishments. "OMD, I'm so happy for her. This has been a long time coming for all of us. So excited for Tammy," tweeted one supporter. Others repeated simple, heartfelt affirmations like, "Yay, so proud of you, Tammy," or "Yes, Tammy. I never thought this day was coming. Now look at her. How proud we are of you." In a TikTok video posted in August 2024, Tammy herself reflected on her extraordinary transformation, noting that she had shed over 500 pounds since her bariatric surgery in 2022. Watching the latest 1,000-Pound Sisters episode, viewers could witness the full magnitude of this achievement, as Tammy's life was no longer bound by limitations that once seemed insurmountable. Yet even as she prepared for surgery, life continued to shift in profound ways. The trailer for the 8th season, which premiered January 6th, hinted at significant developments in both Tammy and her sister Amy's lives. Tammy, now focusing on a future with her girlfriend Andrea Dalton, faced intimate decisions about her personal life. Amy, meanwhile, prepared for her wedding with fiancé Brian Leavorn, creating a juxtaposition of endings and beginnings within the family. A poignant discussion between Tammy and Andrea captured the evolving depth of their relationship. Andrea asked Tammy if she could imagine living together, hinting at a possible long-term future. Tammy's heart raced as she considered the question, realizing that the prospect of cohabitation signaled both commitment and trust. "If I didn't want it to end in marriage, I wouldn't ask you to move in," Andrea confessed, and Tammy, feeling the weight and the warmth of the moment, replied, "I want to be with you." That declaration, simple yet monumental, marked a turning point for Tammy. She officially announced her plans to move in with Andrea, a moment that reflected not just romantic growth, but also the newfound confidence and agency she had cultivated through years of struggle. Tammy's openness about her relationship eventually extended to her family. Initially apprehensive about their reaction, she revealed to her sisters, Misty, Amy, and Amanda, that she was seeing a woman. To her surprise, her family embraced the news with unconditional love. Amanda, her own experiences lending perspective, reassured Tammy that happiness was paramount. "As long as she treats you well, I don't care," Amanda said, setting the tone for familial support that would sustain Tammy in the months to come. Amid these personal developments, another milestone loomed: international travel. For the first time in their lives, Tammy and Amy were preparing to journey abroad, a feat once unimaginable given their health challenges. Sitting together on Amy's living room couch, they examined a world map, circling London in vibrant red. The sisters imagined the streets, the landmarks, and the independence that awaited them. The mere act of planning felt monumental. Even walking to the mailbox used to exhaust me, Tammy admitted, shaking her head with a mix of awe and disbelief. Preparations were meticulous, with Amy compiling notebooks filled with sightseeing plans, dietary considerations, and packing essentials. Comfy walking shoes, compression socks, and travel-friendly snacks became symbols of resilience and foresight. Tammy, determined to honor both her physical limitations and her aspirations, suggested nightly training walks around the neighborhood park. Some nights were grueling, testing endurance and resolve, yet each lap marked a small victory, an affirmation that their dream was within reach. London, when it arrived, welcomed them with crisp air, bustling streets, and iconic sights. Big Ben, the red buses, the energy of a city so vast and historic, it all represented not a mere vacation, but a testament to their transformation. Hand in hand, Tammy and Amy walked slowly but purposefully, embracing the stares, the whispers, and the awe their presence inspired. Every step was a reclamation of freedom and proof of perseverance. The journey illuminated more than physical achievement. It underscored the emotional resilience that had been cultivated over years of hardship, therapy, and mutual support. Yet life was not without its pressures at home. Weigh-in day arrived, the scale a silent arbiter of months of dedication. Amy, motivated by motherhood and the desire to participate fully in her son's life, approached the clinic with a mixture of anticipation and fear. Her sister Tammy, too, felt the weight of uncertainty. The drive to the clinic was quiet, filled with a shared understanding of the stakes involved. At the clinic, the scale confirmed their efforts. Amy's modest but meaningful loss brought relief and tears, as she recognized the incremental victories that each decision had created. Tammy's turn followed, and the number reflected the culmination of her unwavering dedication. Though not a dramatic loss, it was enough to symbolize progress, determination, and hope. The sisters embraced, acknowledging that the journey was ongoing, yet progress was tangible and worth celebrating. Sitting outside the clinic afterward, they reflected on the miles traveled, both literal and figurative. Life would continue to present challenges, temptations, and obstacles, but this weigh-in had proven that change was possible and resilience was real. Humor, love, and sisterly support intertwined with sweat, determination, and tears, creating a tapestry of shared victory that could never be quantified by a scale alone. Amy's journey was far from over. Motherhood, past traumas, and public scrutiny had left scars that demanded attention beyond diet and exercise. Therapy sessions, emotional breakthroughs, and a commitment to self-love became essential components of healing. Tammy, attentive and empathetic, guided and supported Amy through moments of doubt and despair, reminding her that the path to wholeness was a marathon, not a sprint. Confidence returned gradually, shaped by honest introspection and reinforced by familial encouragement. They embraced the understanding that perfection was unattainable and that progress, however small, was a victory worth celebrating. The calm of that Kentucky morning belied the storm that was about to hit the Slaton family. Amy had begun to reclaim her life in ways that were subtle but profound. Therapy sessions, small walks, careful dietary adjustments, and moments of vulnerability shared with Tammy. But even as progress flourished, life had a way of testing the resolve they had fought so hard to cultivate. News arrived like a thunderclap, reverberating through the household, shattering the tentative peace they had built. Headlines flashed across screens and phones. Amy Slaton arrested in late-night incident. The details were vague, the circumstances unclear, but the impact was immediate. Shock, disbelief, and fear rippled through the family. Amy, sitting alone in her living room, scrolled with shaking hands, reading the reactions from fans, friends, and acquaintances. Comments ranged from worried inquiries to harsh judgment. Her eyes, puffy from crying all night, reflected a mix of shame, fear, and heartbreak. The image of the confident, resilient sister they had begun to know seemed fragile again. Tammy was the first to arrive. She entered quietly, her face a mix of anger, terror, and deep concern. "Amy, this isn't you. You endured too much for it to end this way," Tammy whispered, her voice trembling but firm. Slowly, one by one, the rest of the family followed: Chris, Amanda, and Misty. The room was thick with tension. There was no pretense, no cameras, no audience, just family. Chris cleared his throat, his voice steady but laden with concern. "We didn't come here to yell at you. We came to show our love for you. We were also scared." Amy, overcome with emotion, sobbed, "I feel like I failed. I failed myself. As a sister, as a mother. I was not as strong as I believed I was." Amanda, ever practical and compassionate, squeezed her sister's hand. "Strength isn't about never falling," she said. "It's about rising again. But you can't do it alone." Tammy nodded, tears glistening. "I understand what it's like to reach your lowest point. I didn't listen once, and I nearly died. I don't want to lose you too." The honesty in the room was raw, almost unbearable. The family discussed Amy's ongoing struggles, chronic health issues, the weight of motherhood, the stress of daily life, and the pressures of public attention. They spoke about the dangers of unresolved trauma, the way emotional pain, if ignored, could manifest in destructive behaviors. Finally, Chris said the words Amy needed most. "We want you to get help. Genuine help. Counseling. Support. A new beginning." Amy paused, silent for what felt like an eternity, letting the gravity of their words sink in. Then, with a shaky exhale, she nodded. "I don't want to live like this anymore. I want to improve myself, for me and for my children." In the following weeks, Amy enrolled in a comprehensive therapy and rehabilitation program. It wasn't easy. Each day brought moments of shame, self-doubt, and temptation. Yet Tammy remained her constant anchor, offering guidance, reassurance, and shared experience. "You've changed," Tammy reminded her, "but this is a marathon. Every step counts, even the ones you think you've failed." Amy learned to confront her fears openly, the fear of judgment, of relapse, of repeating old patterns. Sessions became arenas of introspection, each conversation peeling back layers of past trauma and habitual self-sabotage. Slowly, she began to understand that food had long served as a comfort, a barrier, a refuge from stress, pain, and anxiety. Breaking that cycle required more than discipline. It demanded honest self-reflection, vulnerability, and courage. Physically, progress was measured in small but meaningful increments. Amy incorporated short walks, gentle exercises, and minor dietary shifts. Some days her body felt strong, resilient. Others reminded her of just how far she still had to go. But Tammy's presence made all the difference. The two sisters continued to walk together, side by side, each step a reminder that their journeys were intertwined. They laughed, argued, and even cried together, finding strength in shared struggle. Evening conversations on the porch became a sacred ritual. With the sky painted in shades of pink and orange, Tammy would listen as Amy confessed fears of failure, the constant self-criticism, and the weight of expectation. Tammy would squeeze her hand gently, offering reassurance, her voice calm yet resolute. "You ain't doing this alone," she whispered. "You've changed from who you were, and that's progress." Amy began to internalize these lessons. Healing wasn't about perfection, it was about honesty, resilience, and consistent effort. Laughter returned more freely, smiles became authentic, and tears were no longer shameful but therapeutic. She learned to measure success not solely by a number on a scale, but by mental clarity, emotional resilience, and the ability to engage fully with her children. The sisters' bond deepened, evolving into a partnership of mutual support and accountability. Tammy's own progress, marked by bariatric surgery, weight loss, and upcoming skin removal, served as a mirror for Amy's emotional and physical journey. The two inspired each other, their victories intertwined, each step forward a collective triumph. Yet even with this progress, life had a way of reminding them of fragility. The arrest incident had exposed the thin line between recovery and relapse, between hope and despair. It was a stark reminder that healing, both physical and emotional, was continuous, requiring vigilance, support, and resilience. Family discussions, therapy sessions, and daily routines became anchors. Amanda and Misty offered guidance, practical advice, and unwavering support, creating a network that reinforced stability and accountability. Tammy's guidance was particularly pivotal. She drew upon her own battles with weight, self-image, and health to empathize deeply, providing both encouragement and realistic counsel. Through this process, Amy began to rebuild her identity. She reclaimed parts of herself lost to years of trauma, public scrutiny, and self-doubt. Slowly, she recognized the importance of balancing responsibility with self-care, of embracing imperfection while striving for improvement. By integrating these lessons into her daily life, Amy found moments of peace previously foreign to her experience. The porch conversations continued, expanding beyond fear and struggle to reflections on growth, joy, and aspiration. The sisters celebrated minor victories, from completed workouts to therapeutic breakthroughs. Every small success reinforced their belief that transformation was possible, even after years of hardship. Amidst this emotional rebuilding, Tammy and Amy also contemplated future ambitions beyond personal health. Travel, education, and community engagement entered discussions, symbolizing the limitless possibilities that awaited beyond the confines of past struggles. Their journey became not only about weight or appearance, but about reclaiming autonomy, forging meaningful relationships, and cultivating resilience in the face of adversity. As the weeks passed, Amy's therapy sessions yielded profound insights. She confronted the roots of emotional eating, recognized triggers that had perpetuated cycles of shame and guilt, and developed strategies to navigate stress without reverting to harmful habits. The family's support network remained vital. Discussions over meals, walks in the neighborhood, and candid conversations fostered accountability while also nurturing emotional bonds. Tammy's influence was especially significant. Her experiences provided both a cautionary tale and a beacon of hope. Amy learned that setbacks were part of growth, and that true strength lay not in avoiding failure, but in responding with courage, persistence, and self-compassion. The sisters' nightly walks evolved into shared explorations of resilience and determination. Each completed circuit around the neighborhood park reinforced the idea that progress, no matter how incremental, was still progress. Laughter, storytelling, and moments of vulnerability intertwined with physical exertion, creating rituals that nourished body, mind, and spirit alike. In this way, the Slaton sisters transformed adversity into opportunity. The arrest incident, once a source of shame and fear, became a catalyst for profound change, sparking conversations, reflection, and action that would shape their lives in lasting ways. Amy's confidence grew steadily, her steps lighter both literally and figuratively. Emotional resilience intertwined with physical progress, reinforcing a holistic sense of well-being. Together, Tammy and Amy navigated challenges, celebrated victories, and confronted fears, cultivating a sense of empowerment that transcended the superficial metrics of weight or public perception. As spring edged toward summer, the Slaton sisters' lives began to shift in ways that felt almost surreal. Tammy, flush with the recent approval for her skin removal surgery, approached each day with a sense of cautious optimism. She no longer measured success merely by the numbers on the scale, but by the freedom in her movements, the clarity in her mind, and the richness of her relationships. The surgery was more than cosmetic, it was symbolic. A tangible reward for years of struggle, perseverance, and dedication. Preparation for the procedure brought both excitement and anxiety. Tammy spent hours consulting with Dr. Eric Smith and his team, discussing incision sites, recovery timelines, and post-surgery lifestyle adjustments. Each meeting felt like a step closer to reclaiming a body she had longed to inhabit fully. She documented every appointment, every conversation, and every emotion in her journal, reflecting on how far she had come. In private moments, she allowed herself to imagine life after surgery. The confidence of moving freely, the joy of dressing without limitations, and the simple delight of feeling at home in her own skin. Meanwhile, Amy continued her rehabilitation journey, her therapy sessions now more intensive and introspective. The arrest incident remained a shadow, but it also served as a mirror, revealing unresolved emotions and the urgent need for deep, sustained healing. Sessions often pushed her to confront painful memories, ridicule endured in childhood, moments of self-loathing, and the relentless pressure of public scrutiny. She learned to verbalize feelings she had suppressed for years, to name her fears, and to differentiate between self-criticism and constructive reflection. Tammy's presence provided a grounding influence. She offered perspective, encouragement, and a gentle reminder that recovery was a marathon, not a sprint. The sisters also began planning their long-awaited trip to London, a dream that had once felt impossible. It wasn't just a vacation, it was a testament to the victories they had achieved. The preparation was meticulous. Amy, ever the planner, compiled notebooks filled with sightseeing plans, transportation details, restaurant suggestions, and packing lists. Tammy contributed with practical considerations, compression garments, medication schedules, and strategies for navigating long walks. The act of planning together strengthened their bond, transforming logistical tasks into shared rituals of anticipation and hope. Even as the excitement grew, both sisters confronted the physical limitations that still lingered. Walking long distances, managing energy reserves, and navigating crowded streets were all challenges that required careful planning. Tammy suggested training walks in their neighborhood park, beginning modestly and gradually increasing distance. Amy, initially hesitant, soon embraced the idea, recognizing it as both physical preparation and psychological conditioning. Each completed lap became a celebration of resilience, a tangible reminder that progress was achievable with dedication and mutual support. Beyond physical preparation, emotional readiness became central. Tammy and Amy discussed fears openly, the anxiety of being judged in public, the possibility of physical exhaustion, and the underlying tension of traveling far from home. They acknowledged that the trip symbolized more than leisure. It represented independence, liberation, and the embodiment of years of struggle and transformation. Conversations often extended late into the night, reflecting on past hardships and envisioning a future defined by choice, agency, and adventure. Social media became an unexpected companion in their journey. Tammy shared glimpses of her training walks and packing preparations, garnering encouragement from followers who had witnessed her transformation over the years. Amy, though more reserved online, found solace in private messages of support and affirmation. The digital world, once a source of scrutiny and stress, became a platform for connection, validation, and community reinforcement. Fans celebrated not just physical milestones, but the sisters' courage, authenticity, and resilience. The day of the weigh-in approached, an event that always carried a mix of anticipation, anxiety, and hope. Amy's past experiences had taught her that numbers could be both liberating and disheartening, a reflection of effort, yet never the sole measure of success. This time, she approached the scale with tempered expectations, focusing instead on the broader context of her progress: increased stamina, emotional awareness, and healthier habits. Tammy, too, viewed the weigh-in as a checkpoint rather than a verdict. It was an opportunity to celebrate sustained commitment, not a determinant of self-worth. When the scale revealed positive results for both sisters, relief and joy mingled with tears. Amy's smile was hesitant at first, but soon radiated genuine pride. Tammy's expression mirrored quiet triumph, a recognition of incremental victories that compounded over time. They embraced, not just as sisters, but as partners in an ongoing journey of transformation. The moment transcended numbers. It was a celebration of perseverance, love, and the refusal to surrender to past limitations. In the days that followed, the sisters reflected on the broader implications of their progress. London was no longer a distant dream, but an impending reality. They envisioned navigating bustling streets, absorbing cultural landmarks, and participating fully in experiences that had once seemed unattainable. Tammy felt empowered by the possibility of travel, while Amy grappled with newfound confidence tempered by the awareness of ongoing emotional work. Simultaneously, Tammy's relationship with her girlfriend Andrea Dalton deepened. The conversation about moving in together became a catalyst for evaluating long-term compatibility, communication, and shared goals. They discussed not only logistics but aspirations, values, and the emotional scaffolding necessary to sustain a healthy partnership. Tammy's joy was palpable, tempered by a realistic understanding that relationships, like personal health, required effort, patience, and adaptability. Amy, inspired by Tammy's empowerment, began exploring her own personal ambitions beyond weight loss and rehabilitation. She considered avenues for self-expression, hobbies long abandoned, and potential professional opportunities that aligned with her renewed sense of purpose. The sisters' growth became mutually reinforcing. As Tammy achieved personal milestones, Amy drew motivation, and vice versa. Family dynamics remained central to their recovery and growth. Conversations with Amanda, Misty, and Chris provided grounding, perspective, and accountability. They discussed challenges openly, emotional triggers, dietary temptations, and the psychological impact of public attention. Support networks extended beyond immediate family, incorporating therapists, trainers, and friends who encouraged sustainable change. By the time the trip to London arrived, the sisters approached the journey with a blend of excitement, preparation, and measured caution. The flight itself posed challenges: long hours confined in seats, navigating airport logistics, and maintaining energy levels. Yet each successful moment, boarding the plane, settling into their seats, and feeling the anticipation of arrival, reinforced resilience and adaptability. Landing in London was transformative. The city's vibrancy, history, and pace initially overwhelmed, yet each step became a victory, a tangible proof of the sisters' evolution. Strolling past Big Ben, exploring bustling markets, and immersing themselves in cultural landmarks were not merely tourist activities, but symbols of liberation, choice, and accomplishment. Tammy and Amy embraced the experience fully, documenting moments, sharing laughter, and acknowledging their shared journey. Even as they explored, they maintained mindfulness of health and stamina. Strategic rest periods, hydration, and pacing became essential components of the trip, ensuring that enjoyment did not compromise well-being. The sisters' awareness of physical and emotional limits underscored the holistic nature of their progress. Achievements were measured in endurance, adaptability, and emotional regulation as much as in movement or activity. This journey, both literal and metaphorical, reinforced lessons of resilience, interdependence, and courage. Tammy's anticipation of skin removal surgery, Amy's continued therapy, and their shared travel experiences coalesced into a narrative of triumph over adversity. Each step taken, whether a cautious walk in Kentucky or a bold exploration in London, symbolized the synthesis of effort, love, and determination that define the Slaton sisters' path. London dawned crisp and vibrant, the city buzzing with life as Tammy and Amy Slaton stepped out of the airport. The sisters felt an almost surreal mixture of excitement, nervousness, and disbelief. Streets teemed with pedestrians, iconic red buses rumbled by, and the sounds of a language they had long studied in books filled the air. For Tammy, each step was a triumph, a tangible representation of a life reclaimed from limitations that once seemed insurmountable. Amy, equally exhilarated, clutched her sister's hand, drawing strength and reassurance from their shared presence. Their itinerary was ambitious. Amy had spent weeks planning every detail, from sightseeing spots to walking routes and meal options compatible with their health goals. Tammy, ever practical, focused on pacing, stamina, and strategies to manage physical discomfort. Their early steps toward Big Ben and Westminster Bridge were cautious, but filled with wonder. Each landmark they encountered prompted reflection on how far they had traveled, not just in miles, but in personal growth. Cultural immersion offered both joy and challenge. Museums, historic streets, and markets required endurance, attention, and adaptability. Tammy occasionally lagged behind due to fatigue, but each pause became an opportunity to breathe, appreciate surroundings, and internalize the significance of their journey. Amy noticed her sister's vigilance and mirrored it, ensuring that every step they took together was purposeful and celebrated. The sisters' dynamic, a mixture of camaraderie, gentle teasing, and mutual care, provided emotional buoyancy in a city that could easily overwhelm. A particularly memorable day involved navigating the Tower of London and nearby historic streets. The stairs, narrow corridors, and crowded spaces tested Tammy's endurance, yet each challenge became a milestone. The sisters laughed at minor slips, celebrated small achievements, and reflected on the years it had taken to even imagine such experiences. For Tammy, the day was a celebration of regained mobility and confidence. For Amy, it was proof that her own emotional and physical growth had allowed her to fully participate in adventures once unimaginable. Beyond sightseeing, the sisters explored the emotional and relational implications of travel. Tammy's relationship with Andrea had matured during the preparation phase, and the experience of independence in a foreign city became a metaphor for personal freedom. Amy, too, reflected on autonomy, self-worth, and the necessity of setting boundaries while nurturing her familial and maternal responsibilities. Each interaction, each observation, reinforced lessons about patience, empathy, and resilience. During quiet moments in hotel rooms and cafes, the sisters engaged in deep conversations about past struggles and future aspirations. They revisited memories of hospital visits, failed attempts at weight loss, and the psychological impact of public scrutiny. These discussions were not burdensome. They were cathartic. Tammy spoke candidly about insecurities, fears of judgment, and lingering physical discomforts. Amy shared her anxieties about motherhood, emotional regulation, and the long shadow of her recent arrest. Together, they offered insight, reassurance, and strategies to navigate the complex interplay of past experiences and present ambitions. Social media again played a supporting role. Tammy shared glimpses of their adventures, highlighting progress and capturing moments of personal triumph. Followers celebrated not only the visual milestones, but also the deeper narrative of resilience, authenticity, and empowerment. Amy, though less active online, acknowledged the significance of these interactions, recognizing that public validation could reinforce private determination. Fans' encouragement served as an emotional buffer, helping the sisters navigate stress, fatigue, and cultural adjustments. Amid the exploration, Tammy scheduled consultations with Dr. Eric Smith regarding her upcoming skin removal surgery. Video calls and messaging allowed her to maintain communication despite the travel, ensuring that medical guidance remained consistent. Discussions encompassed preparation, post-operative care, and emotional readiness. Tammy reflected on the symbolic weight of the procedure, viewing it not merely as a surgical intervention, but as an affirmation of her agency over her body and her narrative. Amy's personal growth paralleled Tammy's physical transformation. Therapy sessions, journaling, and reflective conversations had instilled a sense of agency previously absent. She confronted lingering self-doubt, societal pressures, and residual shame with increasing clarity. The journey to London became a lived metaphor, navigating unfamiliar streets, embracing vulnerability, and exercising patience mirrored the psychological and emotional work she had committed to over months. Family support remained integral. Frequent calls with Amanda, Misty, and Chris offered grounding, perspective, and validation. They discussed strategies for maintaining wellness routines while traveling, contingency plans for unexpected challenges, and ongoing reinforcement of positive behaviors. These conversations underscored the interdependence of personal growth and community support, reminding Tammy and Amy that individual achievements were enriched and stabilized by relational networks. Romantic developments added layers of personal complexity. Tammy's bond with Andrea strengthened, yet also demanded nuanced reflection. Conversations about cohabitation, future planning, and shared responsibilities provided opportunities for growth, compromise, and visioning a future rooted in mutual respect and shared goals. Tammy approached these discussions with a newfound maturity, informed by personal struggle, therapeutic insight, and a deeper understanding of relational dynamics. The trip also facilitated reflection on public perception and legacy. Tammy and Amy considered the narratives surrounding their lives, the impact of media representation, and the responsibility of authenticity. They acknowledged that public curiosity could be both affirming and invasive, and they discussed strategies for maintaining boundaries while celebrating personal victories. This awareness reinforced their autonomy, empowering them to participate in storytelling on their own terms. By the end of the London leg, the sisters had achieved more than sightseeing. They had tested physical endurance, navigated emotional vulnerability, and celebrated shared triumphs. Each step symbolized progress, small, deliberate, and profoundly meaningful. Tammy's readiness for skin removal surgery felt less abstract. It was tangible proof that dedication, resilience, and support could culminate in transformative outcomes. Amy's confidence, emotional regulation, and agency had strengthened, allowing her to embrace new challenges with clarity and purpose. Evening reflections often involved quiet conversations by hotel windows, overlooking city lights. Tammy and Amy acknowledged both the victories and the ongoing work ahead. Laughter, storytelling, and mutual encouragement punctuated moments of fatigue or frustration. They understood that transformation was continuous, a blend of physical, emotional, relational, and cognitive evolution that required patience, persistence, and love. As they prepared to return to Kentucky, the sisters were acutely aware of the lessons embedded in the journey. London was not an endpoint but a milestone, a demonstration of what was possible with commitment, collaboration, and resilience. Their shared experience reinforced the principle that growth is multifaceted. Achievement in one domain strengthens and informs progress in others. Upon arrival home, Tammy's focus shifted toward final preparation for skin removal surgery. Consultations intensified, preoperative guidelines were meticulously followed, and emotional readiness was fortified. Amy, inspired by her sister's dedication, renewed her commitment to therapy, wellness, and maternal responsibilities. The sisters' intertwined journeys underscored the profound impact of shared accountability, mutual support, and honest reflection. Through triumphs, anxieties, and physical and emotional challenges, Tammy and Amy emerged more confident, resilient, and self-aware. Their London journey was a testament to perseverance, a tangible symbol of transformation, and a celebration of autonomy, courage, and familial bonds. Every step, every conversation, every reflective moment contributed to a larger narrative, a narrative of growth, empowerment, and the reclamation of life once constrained by weight, health struggles, and emotional burdens. Back in Kentucky, the return from London was bittersweet. Evening reflections often involved quiet conversations by hotel windows, overlooking city lights. Tammy and Amy acknowledged both the victories and the ongoing work ahead. Laughter, storytelling, and mutual encouragement punctuated moments of fatigue or frustration. They understood that transformation was continuous, a blend of physical, emotional, relational, and cognitive evolution that required patience, persistence, and love. As they prepared to return to Kentucky, the sisters were acutely aware of the lessons embedded in the journey. London was not an endpoint but a milestone, a demonstration of what was possible with commitment, collaboration, and resilience. Their shared experience reinforced the principle that growth is multifaceted. Achievement in one domain strengthens and informs progress in others. Upon arrival home, Tammy's focus shifted toward final preparation for skin removal surgery. Consultations intensified, preoperative guidelines were meticulously followed, and emotional readiness was fortified. Amy, inspired by her sister's dedication, renewed her commitment to therapy, wellness, and maternal responsibilities. The sisters' intertwined journeys underscored the profound impact of shared accountability, mutual support, and honest reflection. Through triumphs, anxieties, and physical and emotional challenges, Tammy and Amy emerged more confident, resilient, and self-aware. Their London journey was a testament to perseverance, a tangible symbol of transformation, and a celebration of autonomy, courage, and familial bonds. Every step, every conversation, Every reflective moment contributed to a larger narrative, a narrative of growth, empowerment, and the reclamation of life once constrained by weight, health struggles, and emotional burdens. Back in Kentucky, the return from London was bittersweet. Tammy and Amy had seen the world, but now they faced the practicalities of life, the everyday routines, the weigh-ins, and the preparations for the next phases of their journeys. Tammy's skin removal surgery loomed as both a milestone and a challenge. Every pre-op appointment reminded her of how far she had come and how much more she had yet to accomplish. The nurses and Dr. Eric Smith reinforced the importance of diet, exercise, and mental readiness, turning every session into a mixture of encouragement and caution. Tammy embraced the guidance with determination, knowing that the surgery was more than cosmetic. It was a statement of reclaiming her life. Amy, meanwhile, faced her own emotional hurdles. Therapy sessions intensified as she worked through the aftermath of her recent arrest. Guilt, fear, and lingering shame surfaced repeatedly, yet she approached each session with honesty. Tammy acted as her anchor, listening without judgment, offering support, and celebrating even the smallest victories. The sisters' bond, forged through years of struggle, competition, and shared hardship, became their greatest asset in navigating these difficult moments. Weigh-ins continued to be both motivational and nerve-wracking. The clinic, once a place of dread, had transformed into a sanctuary of accountability and reflection. Tammy approached each measurement with cautious optimism. Even minor progress was celebrated, not as an endpoint, but as a step forward on a long journey. Amy mirrored this attitude, learning to measure success not just in pounds, but in mental resilience, emotional regulation, and lifestyle improvements. Tammy's relationship with Andrea continued to deepen. Moving in together brought a new set of responsibilities and adjustments. From household chores to meal planning, the sisters watched as Tammy navigated the complexities of cohabitation, communication, and compromise. Andrea's presence was stabilizing, yet occasionally challenging. Tammy found herself balancing personal routines with shared expectations, all while maintaining focus on her health goals. Their love became both a source of joy and a mirror, reflecting areas for growth and understanding. As autumn approached, the sisters began planning for Tammy's surgery. Consultations became more detailed, covering anesthesia risks, post-operative care, and recovery timelines. Emotional preparation paralleled physical readiness. Tammy reflected on the symbolic nature of the surgery, a final shedding of past struggles, a removal of both literal and figurative weight. She journaled her thoughts, discussed fears with Amy, and visualized life post-surgery. This preparation became a ritual of empowerment, reinforcing agency over her body and her narrative. Amy's own transformation was equally deliberate. She focused on consistency in her wellness routines, mindfulness practices, and emotional check-ins. The sisters often shared evening reflections, reviewing goals, discussing fears, and celebrating progress. These moments, small and intimate, reinforced accountability and offered emotional nourishment. They also reminded them that personal growth was not linear, setbacks were inevitable, but resilience defined the trajectory of their journey. Public perception remained a subtle yet persistent force. Social media continued to chronicle Tammy's progress and her relationship with Andrea. Positive messages of encouragement poured in from followers inspired by her weight loss, courage, and determination. Yet the sisters also navigated criticism, unsolicited advice, and judgment. They learned to filter external input, embracing validation that aligned with their values while discarding negativity. This selective engagement became a critical skill, protecting mental health and reinforcing confidence. Family support remained pivotal. Amanda, Misty, and Chris maintained regular check-ins, providing perspective, encouragement, and gentle accountability. Discussions ranged from practical advice, like grocery shopping, meal prep, and exercise plans, to emotional support, offering validation and reminders of the sisters' resilience. Tammy and Amy often marveled at how far communication and shared understanding had evolved. Once a source of tension, family involvement now reinforced stability, encouragement, and mutual growth. Training walks continued, now with renewed purpose. The neighborhood park became a laboratory of endurance, pacing, and mental fortitude. Tammy pushed herself while respecting her body's limits, and Amy mirrored the effort, ensuring they progressed together. The walks became symbolic, a daily rehearsal for the challenges ahead, whether in travel, surgery recovery, or life in general. Each lap, each step, was a testament to perseverance, accountability, and the transformative power of shared goals. Mental health and self-care practices expanded beyond therapy and journaling. Tammy experimented with mindfulness exercises, guided meditations, and reflective routines that helped manage anxiety and stress. Amy integrated similar strategies, learning to observe thoughts without judgment and to respond to challenges with intentionality. The sisters' mutual commitment to these practices strengthened their resilience, creating a foundation for sustained transformation. Amid this structured routine, moments of spontaneity persisted. Simple joys, a shared cup of coffee, laughter over forgotten socks, playful debates, reminded them that life was not solely a series of goals, weigh-ins, and appointments. These interactions reinforced balance, perspective, and the importance of savoring the present while working toward the future. As the surgery date approached, anticipation mingled with apprehension. Tammy reflected on years of struggle, the thousands of calories logged, the diets endured, and the countless hospital visits. Each moment of hardship crystallized into determination, shaping her understanding of personal strength. Amy, witnessing her sister's preparation, reflected on her own journey, how setbacks, therapy, and accountability had reshaped her perspective on health, family, and identity. On the eve of the surgery, both sisters shared a quiet night of reflection. They revisited journals, recounted memories, and visualized the outcomes they desired. Tammy expressed gratitude for Amy's unwavering support, while Amy acknowledged the lessons learned from observing Tammy's courage and discipline. These moments solidified not only their readiness for upcoming challenges, but also the depth of their bond, rooted in shared struggle, resilience, and unconditional love. The day of surgery arrived with a mixture of tension, hope, and excitement. Tammy's preparation was meticulous. Physical readiness, emotional reflection, and logistical planning all carefully aligned. Amy accompanied her, offering reassurance, grounding, and companionship. The surgical team, led by Dr. Eric Smith, emphasized safety, procedure steps, and post-operative expectations. Tammy absorbed each detail, reinforcing a sense of control and preparedness. As Tammy was prepped for surgery, she felt a combination of nerves and exhilaration. Years of struggle, transformation, and perseverance converged in that moment. Amy held her hand, whispered words of encouragement, and reminded her of the journey that had led to this day. The sisters' connection, forged through decades of shared experience, became a stabilizing force amid uncertainty. The surgery itself marked both a literal and symbolic milestone. As Tammy entered the operating room, she visualized freedom, empowerment, and transformation. Amy, waiting in the hospital suite, reflected on the resilience required to reach this point. Hours later, the surgery concluded successfully. Tammy's recovery began, supported by medical staff, family, and her own unwavering determination. In the weeks that followed, Tammy embraced the recovery process with patience, discipline, and optimism. Physical healing progressed steadily, and emotional resilience remained central. Amy continued her own growth trajectory, integrating lessons from therapy, family dynamics, and the shared journey with her sister. Together, they celebrated milestones, navigated setbacks, and reinforced the principles that had guided their transformation: perseverance, accountability, and unconditional support. By the end of this chapter, both Tammy and Amy recognized that the journey was ongoing. Weight loss, surgery, and travel were markers of progress, but personal growth encompassed far more: emotional resilience, relational depth, mental health, and the ability to embrace life fully. Each step, each reflection, each challenge reinforced the sisters' commitment to transformation, authenticity, and the celebration of life reclaimed. As Tammy recovered from her skin removal surgery, the rhythm of daily life returned, albeit with new challenges. The recovery process was slower than she anticipated, with swelling, soreness, and strict restrictions on movement. Every step required patience, discipline, and mindfulness. Tammy, ever resilient, approached each day methodically. She relied on her pre-surgery preparations, her journal reflections, and Amy's unwavering support to navigate the physical and emotional hurdles of recovery. Amy continued to balance her own growth with the needs of her sister. Therapy sessions had become a cornerstone of her routine, and she now approached them with more honesty and commitment. Tammy's vulnerability during recovery inspired Amy to confront her own lingering fears and anxieties more directly. Their bond deepened as they shared quiet moments of reflection, celebrated incremental victories, and held each other accountable for progress, both physical and emotional. The sisters also began exploring new routines to complement Tammy's recovery. Gentle exercises, such as short walks around the neighborhood and stretching routines, replaced the more intense training walks. Nutrition remained central, with both sisters cooking balanced meals that supported healing, weight management, and energy restoration. Cooking together became not just a necessity, but a ritual of empowerment, creativity, and shared responsibility. Amid the recovery period, Tammy and Andrea navigated the complexities of cohabitation. Adjusting to life under one roof required communication, compromise, and patience. Small conflicts arose, different habits, schedules, and expectations, but they addressed them openly, using their relationship as a space for growth. Tammy reflected on how past relationships had faltered under stress, and she made conscious efforts to communicate clearly, listen actively, and set boundaries that supported both partners. Andrea's presence became a stabilizing influence, offering both comfort and accountability as Tammy adapted to her post-surgery reality. Meanwhile, Amy's responsibilities as a mother continued to shape her priorities. Caring for her child while managing personal growth demanded a careful balance. Therapy, weigh-ins, and sisterly support all had to coexist with parenting duties. Amy found herself learning the art of compartmentalization, allocating time for self-care, family, and healing without losing focus on any one area. Tammy, ever attentive, offered guidance and emotional support, helping Amy find equilibrium amidst competing demands. The sisters also embraced travel as a means of empowerment and celebration. London had been transformative, but domestic trips became opportunities to practice independence, endurance, and logistical planning. Even simple excursions, day trips to nearby cities, local attractions, and nature walks were framed as achievements. Each step reinforced their belief that life after significant weight loss was not just possible but enjoyable, expansive, and full of potential. Public perception continued to evolve. Fans who had followed Tammy's journey from the beginning now watched her recovery with admiration. Social media became a platform for storytelling, reflection, and engagement. Followers shared messages of support, advice, and shared experiences, creating a virtual community of encouragement. Tammy and Amy responded selectively, absorbing positivity and maintaining boundaries against negativity. These interactions reinforced their sense of purpose and connection beyond the confines of reality television. Family support remained consistent and vital. Amanda, Misty, and Chris offered practical assistance, emotional encouragement, and reminders of the sisters' resilience. Family discussions, once fraught with tension, now focused on growth, accountability, and celebration. The household became a space where vulnerability was met with understanding, guidance was given with compassion, and setbacks were reframed as opportunities for learning and progress. As weeks turned into months, Tammy's recovery progressed steadily. Physical therapy sessions introduced more mobility exercises, strength-building routines, and cardiovascular activities. Each milestone, whether sitting comfortably, walking unaided, or performing light exercises, was a victory, reinforcing the cumulative effect of years of dedication, surgery, and rehabilitation. Amy often joined Tammy in exercises, reinforcing solidarity and shared commitment. The emotional journey paralleled the physical one. Tammy processed feelings of self-consciousness, vulnerability, and identity shifts following her surgery. She reflected on the contrast between her former self and the empowered woman she was becoming. Journaling, meditation, and discussions with Amy provided outlets for processing emotions. Each reflection strengthened self-awareness, self-compassion, and resilience, helping her navigate moments of doubt or insecurity. Amy's personal growth continued to manifest in her daily habits and mindset. She integrated mindfulness practices, self-reflection exercises, and structured routines that promoted mental clarity and emotional stability. Progress was measured not just in external achievements, but in internal shifts, reduced anxiety, improved confidence, and the ability to respond to challenges with intention rather than reaction. Tammy's journey offered a parallel model of determination, showing Amy that consistent effort, patience, and resilience yielded profound transformation. The sisters also confronted social dynamics, including public scrutiny and interpersonal interactions. Being in the spotlight continued to carry pressures, judgment, unsolicited advice, and occasional criticism, but both women learned to navigate these challenges with poise. They filtered input, engaged selectively, and maintained focus on personal goals and well-being. Social media became a tool for inspiration and outreach rather than a source of stress or distraction. As the months progressed, Tammy prepared to reintroduce more active routines. Light jogging, structured walks, and controlled strength exercises gradually replaced gentler movements. Each incremental increase required careful attention to avoid injury, overexertion, or setbacks. Tammy approached these routines with diligence, viewing each progression as a testament to her resilience and a celebration of her body's renewed capacity. Amy, observing Tammy's progress, began setting parallel goals. Weight management, emotional regulation, and physical fitness became interconnected, reinforcing holistic wellness. The sisters' routines intertwined, shared meals, exercises, and reflective sessions, creating a rhythm that combined accountability, motivation, and mutual support. Each small victory, whether physical or emotional, was magnified through shared celebration and acknowledgement. The family also engaged in strategic planning for the future. Discussions about long-term health, life goals, and personal growth became routine. Tammy considered future surgeries, fitness milestones, and personal aspirations, while Amy evaluated parenting strategies, career options, and self-development opportunities. Together, the sisters envisioned a path forward marked by intentionality, resilience, and empowerment. Romantic dynamics evolved as well. Tammy and Andrea deepened their relationship through cohabitation, shared goals, and open communication. Planning for future milestones, such as travel, joint projects, or long-term commitments, became a source of excitement and stability. Tammy reflected on how previous patterns of self-sabotage or fear had been replaced by intentional, proactive steps towards sustainable happiness. Amy's social and family interactions also transformed. Therapy equipped her with tools for setting boundaries, communicating effectively, and managing stress. Her relationship with her child evolved positively, fostering stronger connections and a more active, engaged presence. The family's collective support reinforced this growth, highlighting the interconnected nature of personal, familial, and relational development. Throughout this period, the sisters maintained a focus on gratitude. Each day, they reflected on progress made, obstacles overcome, and the lessons learned. Gratitude journals, reflective discussions, and shared celebrations cultivated a mindset centered on appreciation rather than deficiency. This mental shift reinforced resilience, motivation, and emotional stability, supporting ongoing growth. The journey was far from linear. Setbacks, minor injuries, emotional dips, or logistical challenges occurred periodically. However, both sisters approached these moments with perspective. Setbacks were reframed as learning opportunities, moments for recalibration, and reminders of ongoing commitment. This mindset cultivated adaptability, self-compassion, and long-term sustainability in their health and wellness journeys. By the end of this chapter, Tammy had regained significant mobility, confidence, and independence. Her relationship with Andrea had matured, her recovery was progressing steadily, and her personal empowerment was evident. Amy had made substantial strides in emotional resilience, parenting, and self-awareness. Together, the sisters had created a lifestyle rooted in accountability, love, and personal growth, transforming not just their bodies but their perspectives, relationships, and life trajectories. As the sisters moved deeper into the year, life settled into a new rhythm, yet challenges persisted. Tammy's recovery had reached a point where she could resume more physically demanding activities, but she remained cautious. Every step forward was balanced by reflection and awareness of her limits. The journey wasn't just physical, it was mental, emotional, and relational. Tammy had to relearn her body, adjust to her new mobility, and confront lingering fears about setbacks or public perception. Andrea remained a constant source of support, but cohabitation highlighted nuances in their personalities. Small disagreements over routines, chores, or communication methods arose. Tammy, accustomed to managing her life independently, found the need to compromise and share decision-making with Andrea both challenging and rewarding. Andrea, meanwhile, practiced patience, empathy, and encouragement, learning to balance support with boundaries. Their relationship strengthened as a result, growing more resilient, intentional, and future-focused.